Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It felt a little bit strange yesterday not having our Monday morning daily call. We had done 48 straight work days of calls, but as you heard from the calls and also the email communications, we realized that the economy is changing, the economy is reopening. And people are going back to work, and being able to accommodate an everyday call was just not as efficient. So we polled our stakeholders, discovered that a couple days a week would work out better to be more efficient with your time. And so we are starting that this week. We have our call today. We will also have a call on Thursday as well. So hopefully this will work out well in everybody's schedule. And as always, though, if anyone needs anything, we'll be here to help you any day. So a couple kickoff comments before we introduce our guest today, Carrie Rathman-Hawks at Rathman Public Relations. Obviously, yesterday was a very big day in terms of reopening the economy. You heard the governor and what she did, and I did email out, by the way. You should have got that late yesterday afternoon, more details on what she decided. But the stay-at-home order is lifted. Many different businesses are now allowed to either operate or expand, reopen, people in restaurants, things like that. There are still a number of restrictions to preserve safety. There are still a few segments of the economy that are not yet allowed to open, like hair salons, gyms, casinos, other things. I don't have the list in front of me, but for the most part, many companies are able to get back to doing what they're doing. So it definitely made some progress yesterday. That was definitely a good step in the right direction. I've got a number of things we want to update you on today, but very excited to have a guest on our call today, which I think is extremely timely given the fact that many of you on the call are just starting to reopen, and you're trying to implement your safety plans, your protocols, your procedures. You're trying to secure your equipment and other things to be able to do it safely. But it's not just about doing that. It has to be effectively communicated. It needs to be communicated to your team, to your staff, so that they feel good, they feel safe, they feel protected. But it also needs to be communicated to your customers as well, your stakeholders in the community. And it may be local people coming in your door. It may be customers from around the country, around the world. But you need to obviously be able to tell your story that you are doing what you can to be able to create that safe environment. So we're very blessed to have a top-notch public relations expert based right here in Shiawassee County. Grew up right here in Owasso, lives in the Langsburg area. We've done a number of projects together, worked on a number of things together over the years, and she has graciously agreed to come on our call today to offer some great insights, some great suggestions, and then hopefully, have a dialogue with all of you and take your questions and comments and give you that hopefully some wisdom coming out of this. And certainly, I would encourage you, for your own specific business needs. I know Carrie will be available to talk to any of you after the fact. But with that, what I'd like to do is introduce Carrie Rathman-Hawks, Rathman Public Relations. And Carrie, I will turn the floor over to you, and then feel free to make any introductory comments. But I know you're hoping to have a sort of an interactive dialogue today. So please, for everybody on the call, please ask your questions, make your comments, offer your input as well. So with that, Carrie, I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm used to doing this in person, so this is going to be fun and a new experience. But hey, that's what we've been doing for the last few months here, so it fits right in. I'm curious, first of all, to find out who's on the call. So I don't want to take too much time on it, but if just a few of you, or if you're willing to kind of shout out where you're from, that would be great for me to know.
And hit *6 on your phone if you want to jump in and comment on this or anything else on the call. *6.
Chris Schuler, Michigan Works.
Okay.
Barry Paxton from Right at Home Senior Home Care.
Helen Howard, Respite Volunteers.
Mike Sarrazin with SLH.
Okay, whoops. Both of you, try that again. You were right at the same time.
Yep, Mike Sarrazin with SLH Metals.
Okay.
Rich Doherty, Rivers Fab and Welding, and Rivers Security Specialist.
Okay.
Tyler DeBrabander with the MEDC.
Laura Archer from the YMCA.
Okay.
Kim Renwick with the Shiawassee Community Foundation.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yvette Collard with the Cook Family Foundation.
Okay.
Laura Darline, Smithway Global. Charmaine Fletcher, Shiawassee RESD.
That's I think I heard about 8 or 9 different industries represented there. That's a great cross-section of sectors.
Yes, definitely. So thank you all again for being here this morning, and I am hopeful that I can give you something today that will help you go back and add one more thing to your plate that will be something you can look forward to now, that you've been waiting to do, and that will be very helpful as you begin to talk with folks in your industry and in your organization, and even a little bit outside. So the first thing I want to say is you really need to know who your audiences are. If you haven't taken audit of that at this point in time, you need to do that now. And you need to, because you need to understand who you're talking to and who you need to be talking to as you begin to reopen. So the first thing I would encourage you to do is to sit down and make a list of audiences that are internal and external. So who's kind of on the inside of the organization? And those would be people like employees, volunteers, board members, donors, and on the external side, you'd have people like vendors or suppliers, the media, other funders, perhaps the general public in certain cases for your organization. In the case of like the YMCA, Laura, you're still closed for a while, but you have some other things that you do, and the senior home care folks and respite, you've been working in unique ways, I think, to do things, could continue doing your work. But however that might change for you, think about the people that are kind of on the outside that you don't maybe work with or interact with on a daily basis to make your organization go. Anyone outside of that circle would be considered an external audience and therefore might require a different type of communication or a different message from you. And you always want to go with your internal people first, if at all possible. So, as Justin said, yesterday's announcement was very welcomed and very exciting, and now has allowed us to move forward. And you want to talk to your internal people first so that they understand, okay, what's next? We're at this point. We've been kind of thinking about it and planning for it in some ways from an organizational standpoint, a systemic standpoint, operational. But what really is now going to happen? Is that all going to be the same with the order being lifted and the way it was lifted? How is that going to change? So the internal people need to understand that first, and I would really encourage you to include them in that communication planning, because people have good ideas, and now that we are in a different time, it's important to reach out and make sure that you're considering all of your different options and things you might not be thinking of, because you have so many other things right now that have been so different for so long that you're having to get back to normal. So involve them and make this a team effort if you're not already doing that. So knowing your audiences, who are you talking to? Who are the people that are involved in your organization, are valuable to your organization? The next thing is you really need to have a plan. So if you don't already have a communications plan for your organization, whether it be a crisis communication plan or a marketing plan or just a general PR plan for your organization, now is the time to at least sketch one out and to be getting that put in place along with your other things for opening that you have to do. And again, starting with jotting down your audiences, and then you move into key messages. And these may be different by audience. So what you need to say to your employees about coming back to work, about now being able to do more or different things than they've been able to do. What you may need to say to your volunteers, what you may need to say to your suppliers, to your customers that are coming in is going to be different, and you need to think about trying to boil it down to maybe 3 key messages that you want to get across about your business and what you're doing to reopen as you go forward. And jotting those down and keeping in mind that they may be different by audience, but what is it you need to get across to people? Timelines. So when do you need to say certain things? At what point do you need to start saying these things? And as we get into strategies in a minute, when do you need to be launching them, so to speak? So figure out who you're talking to, what you're going to say to them, and when you're going to start doing these things. Strategies. So how are you going to communicate with people? Is it going to be through e-blasts? Is it going to be through face-to-face when they're back in place? Is it going to be through written communications? Is it going to be through social media? Is it going to be through traditional media? Is it going to be through digital media? Phone calls? What are going to be your communication strategies that you're going to use to reach those audiences? And you need to remember to meet people where they are, because right now things are so different. And so you need to have an understanding of your audiences and where they're at right now and what's going on for them a little bit, and meet them where they are. So it might mean you're communicating a little bit differently. So you need to look at, again, go back to your audiences and figure out, okay, where are they likely to be in this whole chain of events? And what's the best strategy for getting in touch with them and communicating to them that we're open? This is what our safety protocols are going to be. This is what we're offering, and we're looking forward to seeing you. And then you need to figure out who's going to do what. So making your assignments. Who's going to be in charge of which parts of that plan? And who's your writer? Who is the person that is the best at pulling this together? Or who in the various parts of your organization was already doing that before you left? Who was the person that was your contact person for your suppliers, or your transportation people, or the employees who maybe worked on different shifts within your organization? And putting all that together and kind of mapping out all of that will help you to stay organized in how you do it. and evaluating as you go through. So looking at it and always looking at it in terms of, okay, this is working really well and we maybe want to use this over here. Or, you know what, I don't think we're getting the word out here. People are still asking a lot of questions about X, Y, or Z. So we probably need to tweak that message a little bit, or maybe we need to add to it. Or, hey, we forgot somebody and we need to get them into the plan. And there are some online templates you can find for these sorts of things, which are fine and can kind of get you going. Or as Justin mentioned, you've got people like myself that are available to work with you, to give you proposals for doing plans and getting you back on track, or even beyond that. If you need to go into more extensive marketing and communications and advertising to get back on track, reach out for help. If you had a crisis communication plan that you've been working from, now is the time to look at the part of that where you come into the maybe you're phasing that out. So what do you need to do to update that plan? What are some other possibilities you might need to plan for now going forward that you maybe hadn't thought of based on how reopening is going to look like for you? So what are some of the other possibilities? Or did you have it all covered and you feel good about it and you can put that crisis communication plan away? But I would also encourage you to update it based on what you've learned. So take this time while it's fresh in your mind to update that plan on with things about what have you learned and what would you do differently next time. I would also say don't reinvent the wheel. So if you had things you were doing beforehand that were working really well, don't reinvent the wheel and try to do everything completely new. You just may have had things that were on the shelf for a little bit that you're just going to start doing again, and that's perfectly fine as long as you're meeting your audience where they are, once again. And learning again from what you've done so far. So within this time of the pandemic and the quarantine and how it's changed your business, are there things that you ended up doing that you really liked, that you want to keep, that you found maybe worked better in terms of communication and outreach that you want to incorporate now into your planning and your outreach to people? Make sure that you work that in there and you keep that in mind. Just because you may go back to normal, before what you had before or whatever your new normal is, doesn't mean that you might not have found some new things along the way to do that you can work into a communication plan. So just to summarize quickly, and then I'll take any questions you may have, knowing your audience, having a plan, figuring out if you can do it yourself or if you need to ask for help, updating any crisis communication plans you've had for the future or for now, not reinventing the wheel if you've had things that worked and don't need to be changed, and learning from what you've done so far. So that's kind of my quick version of some reopening tips to get you going in terms of communication with your various audiences, and just giving yourself some grace at this point and giving other people grace at this point, because this is all different and we did reopen a little sooner than what I think we were planning to. And so some people are going to be happy but scrambling sooner than they expected to. So any questions, anybody?
Carrie, great job. I do want to jump in with one question before I open it up. When we were going into this crisis, the number one issue we heard from companies was talent, retaining talent, attracting talent, training talent. I think, and you touched on this, but I think this is extremely relevant in terms of keeping your current workers safe, but also as companies are working to bring people back, making sure people feel comfortable, workers feel comfortable in a safe environment. But my question is, I actually see this maybe, because I know several people on the call are actually not just, bringing people back, but you may be looking to hire people.
Sure.
This could be a recruitment tool. And what I mean by that is if you can communicate to potential employees that have never worked with you that you are, you're creating a very safe environment, that could make you more attractive to a worker that maybe had been in an unsafe environment. So it's more of a comment, I guess, but can you speak to that a little bit, Carrie?
Absolutely. And that's a very, very good observation. And that would be where you would factor into your audiences of recruits, of potential hires, and looking at what are we going to need, and we're going to need to ramp up again and bring some people back, but we're also going to need some new people, and what does that look like now for us? And looking at the competition you may have out there for getting people. So what do you have to offer that you can put out there in your messaging that makes people want to come to work for you? What is unique about your organization, or what are you offering right now to get people to look at your organization and come to work for you? And safety is certainly important, but look at the different communication channels that you have. So by that I mean, okay, you can put ads in the paper, and you work, organizations like Michigan Works are very valuable. Baker College has had some options, some offerings of how they can help organizations. But you also may need to think about going out into the social media world and the digital world in a way that you haven't before, because people have gotten used to doing things more in that world than they have before. And the companies that are out there that are going to be able to help you do that are going to be all over the place and offering options and deals and resources for you that you might not have thought about using before. So once you figure out who that is and who you're looking for and what you want to say to them and what you have to offer, I think you need to consider not only your traditional ways of recruiting people, but also perhaps some new ways that you hadn't been doing before.
Good stuff. Very good stuff. So I want to open it up now. Anybody have a question or comment for Carrie? Hit *6 on your phone, please. *6. Anybody have anything?
Carrie?
Yes.
This is Rich Doherty. We are going to be reaching out to a lot of new customers, and as part of a communications plan, would it be really a good idea to do that reaching out, understanding what the situation is at each company? So if we reach out and talk to them over the phone, finding out more about how they plan to be working and involved if we deal with other issues like this, so we can maintain business during future challenges to the economy like this.
Absolutely. There's two pieces to that. There's you're sort of doing some research there, which is very valuable when you're doing a communication plan. That you're asking questions and learning about your audience and what they need. But yes, you're also reaching out in a very personal way, which helps them to feel, once you establish that relationship, that's what this is all about. And having them understand who you are and the human beings behind the business, and that you understand that safety is important, but that you emerged from this and you are going to be there in the future if this should happen again, if we should have a resurgence or something else happens down the road where you have another crisis of some other kind. This is, hey, these people know me, they care enough to reach out, but they also took the time to learn about my business and my needs, as opposed to just coming in and pushing a message on me that maybe wasn't relevant to my business right now. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks, Rich. Other comments or questions for Carrie? Hit *6, please. Any other comments or questions right now? Carrie, what, just so everybody knows, your contact information, what's the best way to reach you? I'm sure some of them may have some individual comments, as I mentioned, or individual needs. Phone, email, what's the best method?
Either one. You can give me a call at 517-651-5358. And again, that's 517-651-5358. And then my email is Carrie, Carrie, at Rathbun, rathbunpr.com. And I'm sure that Justin and Jody will send that out. So you can contact me either way, and I'll be happy to talk with you.
Yeah, and once again, Carrie's done an awesome job for a number of clients in this community. We're very lucky to have a professional with her expertise based right here in Shiawassee County. So I definitely would encourage everybody, if you have specific needs, specific questions for your business, to get a hold of Carrie. I know she's happy to help. Does anybody else have any final comments or questions before we move on in the agenda? *6 on your phone.
Yeah, Carrie, this is Jody.
Hi
I
there.
have a quick question. So obviously, I have a small business of my own where I am the only person who works. I do photography, you know that.
Yep.
But there are others I know who own salons who are the only people who work. Do you have recommendations? I know you talked about deciding who would, fulfill each of these pieces, but do you have specific recommendations for businesses who are operated by just one person, how they should best handle the communication?
Yeah, it depends on, I guess, somewhat your budget and how much time you're willing and able to put into getting back going, and looking at what you were doing before and was that working for you, and just maybe starting some of those things again. I think it's going to just be necessary in a lot of cases to take the time to do this communication exercise, and it will pay off for you in the long run, even though right now I understand that you want to get going and you need to get revenue generating again and you want to get people back if you were looking to grow your business or want to do that. But I think it's really important to go through this exercise. And I also think it's important to make it personal, because if people that don't already know about you, it's kind of easy to get to your customer list that you already have and give them a phone call or send them an email or send a mailing out that says, hey, we're back open for business and we're looking forward to seeing you, shooting out emails with information about how to get a hold of you or how you might be starting to reschedule things that you had to cancel or postpone with people, but also to make some personal contacts and to start the word of mouth going for you. And I think that's important. And I also think social media becomes very important there, because it doesn't take a whole lot to start putting some things out on your Facebook page and boosting some posts or paying for some Facebook ads to get back out there again.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jody. Any other comments or questions for Carrie? Okay, well, thank you, Carrie. Great job. Once again, she's done a lot of great work in our community, and I know she'd be happy to help you with your needs. So I will send out a follow-up note with her contact information. But just want to say thank you again, Carrie, for a great presentation. And definitely, I agree, every company needs to have this strategy in place. And particularly, I think about a lot of the clients we work with. You know, we deal a lot with manufacturing and industry, and I know several of you are on the call. And, you know, while you may not have like walk-in customers locally, the talent issue is critical. And not only in terms of retaining your workers, but I know some of you on the call, you know, you're trying to recruit new workers today. In fact, while we're talking, I got a note from a local company that's going to do a job fair in a few weeks. So being able to convey that safety message could be very important in hiring people. So really good information, Carrie. So thank you for joining us. And as I said, we'll get Carrie's information out, and I'd encourage you all to follow up there directly with any of your own specific needs. So thanks, Carrie.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yep. Okay, a few more things I wanted to touch on the call today. Fitting in the same theme, reopening. We did have Larry Johnson on the call last Friday, who offered a lot of good guidance in terms of what needs to be done to reopen. But yesterday, I emailed out a great checklist that the health department had put together to basically help guide businesses as far as what they need. That's really been the number one question we've been getting in the last week or so is, I want to follow the governor's orders, but what do I have to do in terms of safety plans and protocols? So did send that email out with that checklist yesterday. So definitely would encourage that for all of you to use as a good guideline. The other thing, too, as you know, we have been working very hard to build up a contact list for equipment and services as it relates to PPE. We're up to now, I believe, 17 different companies. We'll send that out again this week. Actually, I have a new one that I want to sort of promote and tell you about. Our friends at AKT Peerless Environmental Services. They are now offering a building cleaning and disinfecting service. So this would be if you have a factory or or any kind of building really that you want sort of a top to bottom intensive clean, maybe coming on the weekend or whatever, or maybe you're reopening and you want that clean, they do offer that. So I'm going to send that information out today. Also, part of that email I sent yesterday from Michigan Economic Development Corporation, they do have a statewide database, and our friend Tyler DeBrabander is on the call from MEDC. Tyler, do you want to maybe just give a quick plug again for your statewide PPE database program?
Sure. So our Pure Michigan Business Connect is under the MEDC umbrella, and normally they facilitate business-to-business introductions for matchmaking and doing deals, but they've been working closely with PPE manufacturers and distributors and really have collected what I think is the most largest, most verified list of PPE vendors in the state. And now they've opened that up from medical providers and hospitals really to businesses as they reopen. So anything you need, shields, masks, etc. As you reopen, we've got a great source to get you plugged in directly to verified vendors for any of the safety-related products you need, and they're available to run these searches for you. It's pretty much you would fill out a short little survey about what you're looking for. You'll receive a list of verified companies that have that available with their contact information, and they look to turn that around in a day or 2 days. So it's pretty quick and get you plugged into the resources you need.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. And that information on that program, the email I sent out actually at 6 o'clock last night, the headline was More Businesses Allowed to Reopen. It was an email from our friends in MEDC. If you scroll down in that email, you'll see it. PMBC COVID-19 Procurement Platform. Definitely would encourage you to work off our local list, but also get on the state database too if you need access to anything, because our list is not exhaustive and the state one has more contacts on that. Okay, real quick, I do want to call Jody back on. Jody, we had a discussion yesterday, and we've actually heard from a few of you on the call regarding unemployment fraud issues. Jody, you've got an update for folks.
I do. We received some information yesterday. We have been hearing from several employers that employees of theirs have found out or received notice that unemployment was filed in their name using their social security number when they did not file. They have not laid off, so they are still working and have received this information. Apparently, there are a high number of fraudulent unemployment claims that have been coming through in the last few weeks. And there is now a button on the UIA website. If you actually go to the UIA website, just under where you would normally apply for unemployment benefits, there is a button that says Report Identity Theft Now. So if you click on that, it lets you actually go through and file the claim, whether you're an individual or an employer. And then it asks for all of your information. It does let you know that once the form is received, UIA will conduct an investigation, and it will take a little while because they are a little overwhelmed right now with these notices because there have been so many cases. So it is an option now. If you go to the UIA site, you can report the fraud right there on that page. There's a button for it. Just know that it may take a little while to hear back because there are so many people dealing with this issue right now.
I want to give a shout out to our friends at Memorial Healthcare for passing along that information, and we will send that out to you. We've got a document, right, Jody? We got something, a document with more information on that? Yeah.
It's a document with instructions. Mm-hmm.
Yep, we'll get that out to you today. So thank you, Jody. Anything else?
That's it. No new webinars coming up through SEDP or anything, but you can go to their site at any point and view any of the past webinars. If that's something you want to do, you can view them on demand, but nothing new coming up through them.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
Couple more things before we wrap up. You guys saw an email on this. We're having a conference call Thursday morning at 10 a.m. for any business or organization that wants to learn about PACE financing for energy improvements, energy efficiency improvements for your business, so heating, cooling, things like that. So the conference call line was provided in that email. Would encourage you, if you would like to, please join us on that call. Next call, excited to let you know, which will be Thursday, we have Cheryl Peterson from our Small Business Development Center. She will be on to talk about updates on PPP loan forgiveness. So that's the other big issue right now. I know many of you are facing is, making sure you're crossing all the T's and dotting the lowercase J's to be able to get your loan turned into a grant. So there's been changes, I don't want to say every day, but very frequently on that program. And so our friends at SBDC have been staying right on top of that. And so she will be on Thursday's call to give everybody the update on what the new protocols are, or any updated protocols on that. And then also, and this is not law yet, but you may have heard the House passed a bill that would modify the PPP again, and it has some really good things to it. Particularly, it would allow companies to use less money on payroll and more on other expenses. So I know that's an issue for some. You have other bills you'd like to pay related to your business. So that would allow more money to be used. So that is not law yet, but it did pass the House, and it actually passed, I think, with only one no vote. So it clearly has bipartisan support. So that could change it again, hopefully for the better. So anyway, we're going to keep communicating with you on that program. And if you have any specific PPP questions, please let us know. And then the last two things, as always, testing. Our friends at Memorial Healthcare offer testing for the virus and antibodies locally. So if anybody wants to get that, you're welcome to contact the hospital. And then hiring, we talked about it today. If anyone is hiring, please let us know. Please let our friends from Michigan Works, Chris Schuler, who's on the call, let him know. Be happy to help you promote those positions. So with that, I will open it up. Anybody have any comments or questions? Hit *6. Okay, well, thank you all. Hopefully this was productive. We will be back on again on Thursday. Thank you.